Hey everybody, got another exciting video again for you, and today we're going to talk about Monitor. And Monitor is something that you need to be training your help desk and your frontline technicians and engineers on how to use so that you can get better support from folks in your business so that you're either not a one-man band or you've got support in a very large enterprise. You cannot keep pegging your entire development department to, after you've delivered the application, to be in constant contact with that line of service or business that you've delivered this into, because now you're going to have a never-ending conduit to where you're getting influxes of emails to where not only do you probably get frequent requests to update or fix bugs or change things, but then you also have to help troubleshoot that. And so you need to learn to leverage your help desk and your existing procedures, IT procedures, in your organization to basically help save some of your hair. Okay, so this is going to be the last part. I told you in the other video where I use this graphic, but I want to focus on the very top one, Monitor. Okay, so after it's all said and done, after the delivery, you've done a great job at doing the requirements gathering, and now it's simply time to support your product, right? So you need to monitor for performance and user uptake and things like that. I'll do another video that I'll focus on the analytics. That'll be kind of a short video because it's pretty much self-explanatory. And basically, you know what? Yeah, let's make another video. And so the big topic of the day here is going to need to be Monitor. Now, I did, in preparing for the video, know that there's 3 different ways to get to Monitor. And I want to show those 3 ways to you, but one of them's broken right now. So let me show you the 2 ways that's working and the one that's broken. I've got the latest environment as of November the 3rd, 2021. Maybe this will get fixed in the future. So what I want to show you is in the application side. If you select an app, and this is the app that I'm going to use for this video, you can click the ellipsis and get to Monitor here. You can also get to it in the ribbon once you've selected an item here in the list. Okay, so here, this is Monitor. This will go ahead and launch Monitor. This is the app that I'm in while I'm able to create, whatever I'm creating. Under the wrench, so if I click open on the hamburger menu, the Advanced Tools is the name for that icon. And you've seen this before when I showed you the other video where I went into Test Studio. This time we're going to focus in on Monitor. Now, the problem with Monitor is this application is not in my default environment, it's in my lab environment. If you launch Monitor currently from inside of the app, it launches Monitor, but the Monitor launches in the default environment. And when you try to change it to the correct environment, it's like a huge circle, right? And so there's a bug. It should just launch into Monitor, and when you get into it, you're going to see something very specific. And this is what you should see. You should see Monitor open within the correct context of the environment. And what you're going to have, watch up here, see how those buttons changed? There was some programmatic things that seemed to have done some checking, and because it knew it was in the environment and it knew what app it was, you started getting these extra options that we're going to cover here. The main one I want to show you, at least for this side of the video, is the Play Publish App. Now, you don't get that at all if you try to go through the application. I'll launch this in yet another window and you'll see what happens. So this is going to come up to my default instance, and here's my default environment. And notice I don't get the option to play my application because it's not in this environment. I have to switch the environment, go over to my lab, have to go over to the apps, and basically do everything you just saw me do the first time. So anyway, it seems to be broken and busted right now. Again, hopefully they'll get that fixed. All right, so now with the, actually let me close this down because I'm going to have too many windows and it's going to be very easy to get spun around. So I got Monitor, I'm right where I need to be. Okay, so I'm running Monitor for my application. Now, once you're in Monitor, as a developer, let me go through the high-level, 3-level use cases because there's 3 buttons that I really want to focus on. One is that Play Publish button that we're going to do right now, and then when I'm done with that, we're going to circle around and get to these other use cases. There's a Connect User button, and then there's an Invite button, and they have very distinct different approaches of why you would use one over the other. Your help desk is going to live here on this button right here, okay? And you as a developer are going to live either on the Invite button when you want to collaborate, and or if you're just working by yourself, you'll just use the play button. Okay, so the play button essentially will launch the app in a monitoring session. So in other words, it's playing the app, but it's connected to this monitor session so that you can capture telemetry about performance about your app. It's used for troubleshooting, it's used to look at the speed, it's used to a lot of stuff, and we're going to show you all of that. Okay, the other thing is maybe you're working with other developers on the team and you've got a problem in the app, you don't know what's going on, and so you want to share this monitoring session with one of your developer colleagues, okay? Not end users, colleagues that are also developers that need to and should or want to share this. Another use case scenario is your help desk has got a session going with an end user, and I don't know, it's major critical, maybe it's the CEO, the president of that company, right? So we got to help him right now, and that's, kind of a big fire. And so they get a hold of you, and so the guy on the help desk is there. He gets a hold of you. Now the guy at the help desk needs to invite you to his monitoring session, so it could be used in that way. So in that case, your help desk person is now stuck as the person in the middle, and they're going to have to facilitate between the end user and you. But if it's just you and the end user, then you're going to use the connect user, okay? And or if it's the help desk just working with the user, they're going to use the connect user. So let me show you what happens when you click these, so we can knock this out of the way. So I've got my son in my little lab environment here. So his name's Ash. There's his name, Ashton, right? So there he is. So I can send this to Ashton, and what it'll do is it'll send him a link that will launch the app from that link that'll be connected to this monitoring session. Okay, so he'll get an email about that. Conversely, it's the same type of window, but I'm going to send this to a colleague that I want to share, and this is where I really wish they would make better or clear buttons, right? It should say like invite technician, invite, colleague or something to that effect, because it's not a user, it just says invite. So I guess it's okay, but you just need to know what it is, okay? So we're not going to do any of that. It works the same thing. If Ashton wasn't a user in this use case and he was on the backside, it connects to Azure Active Directory, and that's how it gets that information out there. All right, so the meat and the potatoes of what I wanted to show you is going to be under the Publish app. So now we're going to run the app. There's going to be a very distinct look in here. First, you're going to get this monitoring debug information pop-up. Okay, so everybody's going to see this, including the end user that you choose when you hit connect user and they get the email and they click on it, they're going to see the same thing. Also, this little red dot in the upper right corner signifies that this thing is being recorded. Everything that the end user does is being recorded, so they need to know that. If you've got compliance issues or GDPR or whatever the case may be, the end users need to know that anything they type or do is being recorded, okay? Make sure they know that. The other thing here is as I'm interacting with the app, so all I did is launch it. And as you know, Power Apps has a property for the application on application start. And so here we can see about what was running there. Now, I didn't do anything with it. And if I did, you would see all of that information in here. Now, if you click on a row, you will get the metadata as it relates, or the details about what is going on with this particular row or item that's being captured. Okay, so here's some details. This is the formula area. If I had any formulas, I could see them, but only after I go into my app and I turn on the advanced debugging settings. So let's see if I can do it. I won't be able to do it here. Let's try to edit, which should open up another window. So let me show you that setting. And again, I'm showing you the settings so that in the monitor you'll be able to see formulas. Now, in order for me to get the formulas to show up, I'm going to have to close everything down and relaunch it, but I'm not going to do that. Just know that whatever the formula is for the formula in the property or the formula on behavior that you've got programmed, it will start to show up. You'll be able to see what it is there, or the help desk person will be able to see what it is there, okay? But to turn that feature on, you got to go under File, you've got to go under Settings, it's under General, so scroll down and see Debug Published App. You got to flip the switch on, but read what this says, because when you enable this, it slows the app down. So if they're already complaining about speed performance, this is going to make it even worse. And it's really noisy, it's very verbose. So only use it when you need to use it, and chances are you may not even need to use it because you get a lot of great detail, and the developer should just be able to go in to the app and find out where the problem is. Also, crappy naming conventions for my buttons. This is not good, right? So if you use good, clean naming conventions for your objects and your widgets on screen, these show up in the monitor, okay? So it's going to be very helpful when you start seeing application on start, or whatever. Let me click in the recording session this button called Get One. It's going to get one record from the database, and it does. And so when I click on that, I can see that the button was clicked, and the control is just called Button 1. And the reason it's called Button 1 is in my application, it's called Button 1. So again, good naming conventions. Now you can start to see the benefit of that. Not only does it help developers, but it's going to help your help desk as well. Hey, we were on the home screen or screen 1. And you might be saying, well, how do they know that they're on screen 1? Because screen 1 is navigate to screen 1. That's part of the screen load right after the app start, right? So that property is there. So you can see the chain of events of how people got from point A to point B, or the events that led up to whatever that you're trying to troubleshoot. And so now I can see that the screen is on this screen, and this was the object, and so what exactly was, were they doing here? And it was the onSelect property that was fired for this particular button, and we scroll up to the top, we can see the screen load, so we're going to look for that. And of course you can filter on all of this stuff as well. You can hide, remove columns, you can pin things of that nature, okay? So play with all of that. That's really more for you to understand. But the other thing I want to show you is to get one record from the database took 1.2, almost 1.3 seconds, and you may be saying that's a lot of time to get a record, and it is. But you have to understand in this context, 80–90+% of that was the overhead, because the way that I'm doing this is I'm trying to circumvent the 2,000 record limitation that is built into Power Apps, another setting that if you're new and don't know, Power Apps by default will only give you 500 records, okay? So if you don't change this number, this is what it's set to out of the box, okay? And so you may be saying, oh, well, geez, let me just give it to 50,000, right? Let me get everything I can get. Well, no, there's a limit of 2,000, and it tells you that right there. So at best, the most you can do is jack that up. So I've got 4,000 records in my database. And so the way that I'm circumventing this to get around it is I have a Power Automate flow. And if you look at this, and I go into Actions and go into Power Automate and go look at that, and I can go and edit it, which will bring up Power Automate. We're not going to go into the granular details of what I'm doing here, but this is a way of circumventing the delegation. So I'm using the Power Apps, the version 2, so I can pass in a parameter called first n. I'm setting a default value of 5,000 because I had to put something in there. And then I'm using that parameter in this row count, and then I'm passing that in there. Now, if I didn't provide this, the default is 5,000 anyway. And so if I put a parameter here, I need to put one in there for Power Apps anyway, so this is required. There's really no setting other than this. I can take it and make it optional, and so if I don't pass anything in, then it will use the 5,000 that I've provided here. So I don't have this necessarily set to make it optional. Can I do it there now? It doesn't look like it's toggling anything. Let's see here. Yep, I guess it doesn't care. It absolutely wants me to make it required. I thought I had the ability, just out of curiosity, I want to set this. Make the field optional. Yeah, so maybe this is another bug. This is version 2. This is relatively new. I thought I could make it, but I guess it's not. So in any event, maybe another bug in Power Automate now. So in any event, that is what is going on here. And so the point is, I'm using this to bring back all 4,000 records because I can do it this way. And I'll get a warning on the flow checker that's just telling me that I really need to provide a no data filter so that I'm not opening some wide open query. And so I'm doing essentially a select from the return on there, and then essentially what I'm doing is I'm using a an HTTP response. And when I do an HTTP response, it provides essentially an array in the response that goes back to Power Apps, which essentially will be a table. And that's how I'm able to use the table inside of here. So just an interesting and creative workaround to get to more than 2,000 records or past the limit. So use that little trick to your advantage if you so like that. And so anyway, moving on, we've got a whole bunch of interesting things here left to show you. And so with my app running, let's run this a couple of more times, because something else I want to show you. This time that it takes to get information back will vary, and you're going to see that here. The shortest time was almost a full second, and the longest time was just over 2 seconds. And so you can say 1 to 2 seconds to get the same one record. I have to understand, this is a shared platform. Lots of other customers are using it for theirs. It's platform as a service, or PaaS, even though it is software. And in any event, there's different loads that happen at different times. So this is the reason why you're getting the different response times, because it's like a sine wave. Sometimes it's busy, sometimes it's not as busy. In the morning, you probably get better performance versus in the afternoon, especially if you're on the East Coast. 3 o'clock in the afternoon seems like everything's going to slow down, because Pacific Coast, East Coast, Central, the whole United States is online. So all of those regions are just getting hammered. So you're going to see degradation in all of this. But if you were to do it 7 a.m. Eastern time, probably get about a second or under a second consistently until you get into the later afternoons. All right, so with that being said, now let's start clicking on some of these larger ones. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this monitoring screen, and I'm going to clear out all of the data here, and I'm capturing that load again, and now I'm going to hit 10,000 because that's kind of the ridiculous load. It's not going to get 10,000 because, like I said, I only have 4,000 items in the database, but there is a hard and fast rule that says, and by no means is this a guarantee, right? It's simply just a hard and fast rule of thumb. If a user has to wait greater than 3 seconds, they're going to complain, or they're going to think about complaining, or they're going to start thinking something is wrong with the application. If it takes longer than 10 seconds, they're guaranteed to pretty much open a ticket with the help desk or complain to somebody to let somebody know, because not only are they now concerned, but they're really concerned enough to complain about it. Okay, so 3 seconds is really the tolerance limit. 5 is that next threshold, and 10 is the subsequent one. So just know that you want to keep all of your screen actions, interactions to 3 seconds or less. Should be your goal in performance and troubleshooting. And monitoring is a way of helping you observe this type of behavior. So now that I've run this larger query, it took 10 seconds, right? So I'm right at the cusp. And if I run it again, I'll probably get some as high as 15. I'll get some as low as 7. It'll be like all over the board, right? So the average would be about maybe 12 or 13. I'm well over the 10. I'm going to get a help desk ticket saying performance sucks. You're going to have to implement something called a lazy loading technique. Maybe I'll show another video on how to approach or deal with that type of loading for very large loads or sets of data. And that'll keep the end user from maybe not complaining so much, but you can still do the extra heavy lifting kind of behind the scenes. All right, so that is pretty much it for the majority of this video. I do want to end on where your help desk needs to do something with regards to the session that they've captured. So let's just say this is the log. Let's put a little bit more information in the screen here. So we'll click on this, we'll click on that. Maybe we'll click on this, and then we'll go back and click on one. All right, so now we should have a decent amount of information in here, and we do. All right, so the other thing I want to show you, where did we get the one? Here's the run record. So I showed you some of this before. Application on start, details and formula. We told you formulas don't show up unless you flip that switch in the settings. But then on the navigate, you still get the detail. But when you're running things like Power Automate, you're going to get some extra tabs. This is the request that's being made to the RESTful service that sits on the Power Automate side. and then this is the response that you get back from the Power Automate side. And so when you've got stuff that's really large, you'll see like these little gray areas. This is indicating that you've got some roll-ups, so the headers are collapsed. You can increase that. Here's your bodies collapsed, and you can kind of see that huge load. Now look at, you know, all of the detail and information, and of course I only have one column that I'm bringing back. So imagine if I had like 16 columns in each record, right? Not only would it take a long time, but this thing would scroll on forever. So it auto collapses things up for you. So if you look at this and you're freaking out, well, the first indicator jumps from line 32 up to 12,000. So something's wrong right there. So there's your little plus button. That's your sign or your indicator that, hey, there's more details here. Go ahead and click on that to get more information. So all of that information is self and contained in here. Now here's the end. I'm going to hit this download button. I'm going to get this Power Apps trace. Okay. So I'm going to clear the data. And I'm going to close this down. I have this JSON file that's now local, so I can attach this to a Jira ticket, an ADO ticket, a help desk ticket, whatever you're using, ServiceNow, or you know, there's a plethora of ticketing systems out there. But whatever it is, they can attach that trace file to the ticket. And now you, as the technician or the Power Make app maker, or you know, developer, or whatever you want to call yourself, you'll get this, you'll open up the ticket, you'll download the file, and now you just click upload to upload the file. And here's that file that we just downloaded. And now I've got all of that information loaded back into the monitor. I can go through, I can click on this, I can see what happened, and I can look at the granular details. Now, as a developer, I should be able to kind of put this off screen, go to my other screen, and try to make the same steps myself. Excuse me. And at that point, I can now troubleshoot my application. I can now get the support that I need. I'm so sorry. Try to get the support that I need from the help desk, and as a result, it's going to make the end user happier. It's going to make you happier because now you have some help, and you can leverage more and more IT assets within your organization. That is it for this video. Kind of long, or a little bit longer than I had thought. We're at about 22 minutes. I'm hoping to do this in 15 minutes or less, but in any event, I'd rather have you see all of the juicy details and information. Leave a comment in the comment box below. Please subscribe. Trying to get at least up to 100 subscribers so that I can have a vanity URL for my domain name for my channel. So just do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you are genuinely interested, hit the little bell notification, and I'll let you know when I have a new video for you. Okay, that's it. Again, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.